Hi guys, it's me, HD, and welcome to today, the most important qualifying session of the Formula 1 season. Of course, it is the Monaco Grand Prix from the wonderful streets of Monte Carlo here in 2021. And this fight for pole position today, and really throughout the grid, is going to be so exciting. We have seen so many exciting moments so far in qualifying this season. So many surprises and, like I said, great exciting moments, but because of how close the field is and how this certain team that's on the screen right now has risen to the level of Mercedes and Red Bull, we are in for one of the best qualifying sessions we've had in a while. A proper scrap between 3, 4, maybe even 5 or 6 drivers for the most coveted position in Formula 1, pole position for the Monaco Grand Prix. Because if we get pole at Monaco, as we know, you basically won the Grand Prix if you look at the history of the Monaco Grand Prix. And I cannot wait for today's session. Cannot wait. I've been looking forward to this really since the season started, because I knew, the field being so close and it being so, this season so far being, as exciting as it's been, especially between, Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. I was always looking forward to this session because I know that we are going to get something very special today. We're going to see who right now in their careers, at certain stages of their careers, who is the master of the Monaco Grand Prix track. We have some pretty great drivers who are going to be right up there fighting for pole position. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Hopefully, if you didn't join me for practice 3, hopefully you'll join me today for the qualifying watch-along. Of course, qualifying getting underway, as you can see on the screen, in just under 30 minutes' time. And yeah, no matter what part of the world you're in on this Saturday, hopefully you are having a good day. And hopefully with me, as I said, you will join me in watching along qualifying the 2021 Monaco Grand Prix. Now, if you didn't, like I said, join us for the Practice 3 stream earlier, let me take you through the results, because they were very interesting, and I think they do point to where certain teams and cars, or certain teams and drivers, rather, are going to be in the session today and where the fights are. So in Practice 3, not for the first time, and I'm certain not for the last time, Max Verstappen yet again topping Practice 3 from Carlos Sainz in second, Charles Leclerc third, Valtteri Bottas fourth, Perez fifth, and then completing the top 10, Norris, Hamilton, Raikkonen, Gasly, Vettel. And then the rest of the order, Giovinazzi, Stroll, Ricciardo, Schumacher, Alonso, Mazepin, Russell, Latifi, Tsunoda, Ocon. Now, if we look at the front of the grid there, obviously I think Mercedes can go much quicker, but without doubt, if they can go much quicker, like I said, we've got 4 or 5 drivers who today can absolutely get pole position. And talking on Mercedes, let's just get into them. They haven't quite hit the sweet spot from what I've seen so far. They haven't quite got it all together in terms of the balance of the car and nailing the laps with both drivers. I think they've still got a lot more to show, and I think when it comes to, qualifying 3, the final part of qualifying, I do believe that Lewis Hamilton will still be right up there. At worst, say 3rd place. At the absolute worst, I don't think Hamilton's going to be 4th or 5th at all. But I expect Lewis Hamilton to still be right up there. I am still going with my prediction that Lewis Hamilton will get pole position because, this pole position, of course, is so important. And Lewis Hamilton, when it comes to the big moments, especially in qualifying, the guy is almost unstoppable. So I still think Lewis Hamilton is the man for me. But you have to, I think people would accept that they're not quite there with, say, Ferrari and Red Bull so far. Again, in qualifying, things could change and Mercedes might just finally show their pace. Maybe they were running a bit of fuel in Practice 3. That's the only thing really they could have sandbagged on, to be honest, in Practice 3. Because, of course, the engine modes have already been decided with Practice 3. And after that, of course. So, yeah, I think if they do get pole, it will be just like in Spain. It will be by the slenderest of margins. It's not going to be, a Mercedes on pole by 2-3 tenths of a second. No way at all. If they do get pole, it will be very, very close. But I still, like I said, I still think Lewis Hamilton will get it because the guy is stunning when it comes to qualifying. And I still think that Mercedes still have the car absolutely able to get pole position. I think we also have to remember that with Valtteri Bottas up in 4th place in practice 3 and Hamilton down 7th, Bottas historically around Monaco is not that great. Lewis Hamilton's obviously a lot better, and Bottas, was 4.5 tenths off Verstappen. I'm sure Hamilton could get probably in practice 3 could have been maybe say 2 tenths of a second closer. So you see what I mean? I still think, even though they might not be as confident with what they have going into qualifying, I still think that they are right there with Ferrari and Red Bull without doubt to fight for pole position. But of course, those other 2 teams will be very, very competitive. Very, very competitive. The first of those teams, of course, Red Bull, who, even though I don't think the Red Bull car is, as well suited to this circuit as, say, the tracks we were at earlier in the season, say like Bahrain and Imola, I think the Red Bull was probably better suited to those circuits, to be honest. The Red Bull car here is still very good. Max Verstappen, of course, P1 in practice 3. Can he get pole? That is really the question at Red Bull. Because, in the championship battle, of course, Hamilton leads by 14 points, which is not that much, but considering Lewis Hamilton has won 75% of the races so far this season, and like I said in the preview, the weekend, Max Verstappen has to get pole and win this race. He has to. Because if he lets Lewis Hamilton beat him again, say, this weekend, and even win the Grand Prix, then he's giving Lewis Hamilton way too much momentum, and it's going to be pretty hard to stop Lewis Hamilton, even if you have a lead over Hamilton in the first half of the season, as we saw with Sebastian Vettel 3 or 4 years ago. So what he can't afford to do, like I said, is give Hamilton momentum. So this weekend, he has got to get pole position, and he has got to win the Grand Prix. And then, of course, in Baku, where the Red Bull car, I think, will be even stronger, I think he's obviously got to win that as well. But this Grand Prix especially, he has to win to send a message that he's going to be, here fighting the entire season, and it wasn't just a blip, I guess you could say, the first 3 or 4 races where he was up there competing with Hamilton so strongly. He needs to make sure he sends that message today and this weekend that he is here, if I can speak, to fight for the rest of the season, for every pole position, for every race victory. Because even though it's been still very close, even in Portugal and Spain, it's been going clearly in Lewis Hamilton's direction, the championship battle, and really all of the momentum is with Hamilton at the moment, and Verstappen has to break it. So we'll see if he can. For Sergio Perez, I actually think Sergio Perez could get, say, 4th or 5th, which, to be honest, considering the pace of the Ferrari cars, which we'll get into in a moment about their pace, would be a decent result. I think his aim is probably to out-qualify at least one of the Mercedes cars. I think that has to be the aim. Can he get ahead of one of the Ferraris? We'll have to see. Depends how strong Ferrari really are when it matters. But yeah, I think Perez definitely is in there. He's not miles behind. He won't be as quick as Verstappen unless Max makes a mistake in qualifying, which is possible around here. It is so, you are so close to throwing it all away, as we saw earlier in practice with Nicholas Latifi and Mick Schumacher. By the way, we'll get into Mick Schumacher soon about the state of his session going into qualifying. Yeah, Sergio Perez should really be 4th, 5th, something like that. But Red Bull, without doubt, are in the fight for pole position. And also, so this team, Ferrari, for the first time probably since the 2019 Brazilian Grand Prix, I think it was the last time Ferrari were really in a battle for pole, where Sebastian Vettel that day qualified in 2nd place and on the front row and was only just behind Max Verstappen. That race, I have to say, feels so long ago. But this is, again, since then, this is the first Grand Prix where Ferrari are able to actually challenge for pole position. And if they do get pole, then, like I said, if you get pole at Monaco, then all you have to do is get turn 1 right at the start, and you've basically won the Grand Prix, unless something big happens to you, in terms of bad luck, of course. Can they get it, though? I still don't think they will. I still think, because of the quality of drivers in the other 2 teams, Hamilton and Verstappen, of course, I still think, ultimately, when it's all said and done, those 2, Hamilton and Verstappen, will have the slight edge over Leclerc and Sainz. I still think Charles Leclerc will be up there. I think Charles Leclerc will get into the top 3 in qualifying. But ultimately, like I said, I just don't think they'll have that killer speed to really get pole position. The only way I see it happening is, again, if mistakes are made by the others, but also if one of the drivers nails basically as close to perfect as a lap as you could do around Monaco. That's really the only way I see Ferrari getting pole. But they're definitely in the fight. No doubt about it. They are in the fight. I think they'll get a car in the top 3. Will they get, say, both cars in the top 5? We'll have to see. I mean, at the minute, it's looking likely. But again, it's so close. I don't want to go ahead and say right now what I think will happen with Ferrari. But yeah, I think they'll be very disappointed, Ferrari, if they don't get a car in the top 3, because they can definitely, at the very least, get a podium. But if they do get pole position, like I said, as long as they get turn 1 right and don't make a massive mistake in the race or have mechanical issue or anything like that, then Ferrari could legitimately win this Grand Prix this weekend, which would be the first victory for them in a year and a half. The last Grand Prix victory was also around a street circuit in Singapore in 2019. That year, it was a 1-2 finish. So we'll see what Ferrari can do. I will say, though, even if they don't get pole and maybe disappoint, it is great to see Ferrari back up there again at this Grand Prix. Obviously, we want it to happen more. It's not really going to happen that much this season, because the reason Ferrari is so good here is because aerodynamically they are so strong, but they still have a clear weakness when it comes to, say, power output and the high-speed sections of, say, certain circuits. For example, at Baku, because of the final sector there and the first sector, I don't think Ferrari are going to be anywhere near the front of the grid. But here, because of how tight it is and the way the track is, that's what allows Ferrari to be where they are. Probably the next time you'll see Ferrari this good is Hungary, maybe? If not Hungary, then probably Singapore. But yeah, it's not going to happen many times, and maybe Mexico as well. I mean, of course, Ferrari, because they finished down in 6th last season, they have more, I think, tokens to develop their car this season, which obviously is up to them whether they want to fully develop as much as they can this car. So they might actually still get back up there at some point this season. But yeah, realistically, after this Grand Prix weekend, they are probably going to go back to just fighting teams like McLaren and AlphaTauri, because of the weakness they still do have when it comes to power and high-speed stuff. So if you're a Ferrari fan, then savour this weekend, because it's not going to be a massively common sight, I think, for the season. Hopefully, though, I am wrong on that. And their, I guess, biggest rivals in the midfield, McLaren, definitely not as quick as Ferrari. Lando Norris is looking very quick, which is good. I think he's probably going to end up in the top 8 on the grid, say 7th or 8th. Be a very big surprise if he was to get into the top 6, honestly. Daniel Ricciardo, though, in practice 3 did not look special, I have to say. Down in, I think, 13th position. Like I said, did not look too special with what he was doing. In practice 1 and practice 2 looked better, but it's hard to say where he's going to be. Really, he should be getting into the top 10 in, say, 9th and 10th place, considering the pace of the McLaren compared to the top 3 teams this weekend and, say, everyone else. So McLaren should be getting both cars into the top 10, and if they don't, I think they'll be bitterly disappointed, because with Ferrari up where they are this weekend, if Ferrari do go get loads of points, McLaren have got to still bring home a few points just to make sure Ferrari don't, the gap in terms of the points Ferrari have scored to what McLaren have scored, they've got to make sure it's not too big so that McLaren are still close with Ferrari and the constructors. I still think, when we come to Baku, for example, like I said, in a fortnight, I still think Ferrari will probably be behind McLaren at a track like that because of, again, the strengths and weaknesses of that respective car. But yeah, McLaren, again, if they don't get 2 cars into Q3, they'll be very disappointed, I think, with that effort. And let's now get into the rest of the field. Aston Martin look decent. I think that's the best you could say. I don't think Aston Martin are anywhere near, having, say, the best car from what looks to be the midfield pack this weekend. Ferrari have elevated themselves into the top tier just for this weekend, I believe. Yeah, I think Aston Martin are probably going to be around 10th, 11th, 12th, maybe 9th at best, but I don't think Aston Martin are going to be getting a car in the top 10, honestly. I think most likely it'll be 12th and 13th in the grid. And then in the race, I think things will improve. I think in the race, they'll probably end up scoring a point because they've got good race pace, and I still think on strategy they could do something that could get themselves into the top 10. But they haven't, by the looks of it, I just don't think they've got quite enough to get into the top 10. Hopefully they can, but I just don't think they've got quite enough. But I will say that their pace this weekend at the previous Grand Prix as well, considering these tracks are supposed to be their weaker tracks, it does bode well for Baku, because Baku should be a stronger track for them, because, they have the Mercedes power unit, which of course is very strong, and aerodynamically speaking, they're not that strong, and I think they will be stronger again at the higher speed circuits this season. So considering, again, their weaknesses around a track like this, they've done pretty well in the last couple of weeks, and I think their upgrades are working, just not maybe as much as they want to, but they are working to a certain extent. AlphaTauri, I mean, this driver on screen, Yuki Tsunoda, I don't think will be in the top 10 at all. I think he'll probably end up around 14th, 15th, 16th, which really he's been hovering around for the last 2 or 3 races. Pierre Gasly, though, I think definitely gets in the top 10. The guy is driving at a great level. The car is maybe not that well suited to Monaco and the layout, but it's still, good enough. And probably, I mean, if Tsunoda was getting his act together, I think that the AlphaTauri in general would be quicker than the, say, Aston Martin and the Alfa Romeo, which we'll get into in a moment. Yeah, I think Gasly definitely gets in the top 10. I'd say Gasly's probably going to qualify, say, 8th, something like that, which would be, and if he could maintain that for the race, that would be a stunning result. It really would, because again, the AlphaTauri car shouldn't really be that well suited to this circuit, and AlphaTauri this season, their fight, let's be honest, is going to be with Alpine and Aston Martin and Alfa Romeo this season. Of course, they're, a few points is actually showing on the bottom of the screen. They're only 5 points behind Alpine for 5th and 5 points clear of Aston Martin, who are 7th, of course. So if they could get, say, 4 or 5 points this weekend, that would be pretty good, considering, again, the strengths of their car. I think probably after this Grand Prix weekend, you'll see AlphaTauri get back to what they were doing in Bahrain and Imola, because of the circuits coming up and the way, the way the layouts are. But yeah, I think Gasly definitely gets in the top 10 without doubt. I'd be very, very surprised if Pierre Gasly was not in the top 10 in qualifying today. One team, though, that is absolutely shocking so far, and it is shocking in a massively surprising way, is Alpine. Coming into this weekend, because of their performance in the last couple races, which are, those tracks we raced at, again, were high aerodynamic circuits, really. And Alpine, did very well, especially in qualifying. We can't deny that. So you would expect here in Monaco them to carry that over. And I think this car, really, their biggest strength is probably the slow corner performance. But this weekend they've been really poor, really poor. They look as though they're around Williams. That's how poor they are. I don't see how they could get into the top 10. I just don't see it. I thought they would originally going into the weekend, but I just don't see how they can. They're so far behind by the looks of it. And even, I think, was it Martin, whatever his name is. I can't remember his last name. It's like the technical director or something, or sporting director of the Alpine team, was making the point, I think, on Thursday that they're in a bit of trouble. Because on Thursday, they were quite slow. But yeah, so far on Saturday, doesn't look as though it's improved. Looks as though Alonso's probably ahead of Ocon so far. Ocon has not shown anything like the pace he had in Spain or Portugal, but yeah, overall Alpine look as though they have a really, really poor car. Really poor car. I'd be very surprised if they just suddenly bounced back and, were as quick as they were in Spain. I'd be very surprised by that. We'll see. I mean, hopefully it's better than I'm expecting, but so far this weekend, they have looked really poor. Alfa Romeo have actually kind of took Alpine's place in the, I guess, the order you could say, hovering on getting a car into the top 10, have Alfa Romeo, and have been, say, 5th or 6th best team, which, I mean, I thought they'd be decent around here, but I didn't think ultimately the grid position would be good enough for them, say, to get a points finish, which of course they are desperate for this season because they've been so close so many times, and they need to stop giving points away to Aston Martin and AlphaTauri and Alpine. So yeah, I thought honestly this weekend they'd show decent pace, but it wouldn't be, anything like enough to maybe get a points finish on Sunday. But if you look at so far, they look as though they're kind of there with, say, McLaren and AlphaTauri, which is a surprise. Can they maintain that, though, going into this session? We'll have to see. I just don't know. I'd be surprised, put it that way. I would be surprised if they were to qualify, say, 8th and 9th or 8th and 10th. I'd be very surprised by that. But I'd also be kind of happy for them because that would basically guarantee at least one car finishing in the points, and they deserve a points finish this season. They've got a good car, Alfa Romeo. They just need to sort qualifying out, and hopefully Kimi Räikkönen can sort his qualifying out, because if he outqualifies Giovinazzi, he's the most likely person to score points for them. So he needs to really get up there and, get, say, even if he doesn't get in the top 10, P11, P12 is still a decent position, but he can't afford to be down in 15th or 14th or 16th again, because, like I said, Alfa Romeo, they've got a decent car, and they've got definitely very good race pace in that midfield pack. Williams just don't have a good car here. The car's not suited to the track, and the other midfield cars are just much better. I think Baku will represent a much bigger chance for this team to do something in terms of maybe getting a point. Yeah, this weekend, it's not happening. I'd be very surprised if they got both cars into the second part of qualifying. I really would. We'll see what Mr. Saturday, as he's called, can do, George Russell. If he got into Q2, I think that'd be a great performance. Of course, if he was to get, say, 14th, 13th on the grid, because of the importance of track position here, that would be great for him, because his result would be probably boosted a bit, considering the pace of the Williams car isn't actually that great. So we'll see in qualifying, which gets underway, as you can see, in just under 5 minutes' time. Finally, Haas F1, of course, they're going to be at the back. But Mick Schumacher, it has been announced by Haas F1 because of too much damage sustained to the chassis that he, when he, had his crash at the very end of practice 3, he will not be taking part in qualifying, which is a shame because he actually finished in 14th place ahead of the 2 Alpines, the 2 Williamses, Tsunoda in the AlphaTauri, and his teammate. So that's a big shame, but it happens. Hopefully he learns. I think he will because he seems like a smart guy. So that means that Nikita Mazepin will actually out-qualify him for the first time this season, unless Mazepin doesn't come out of the pits at all, which, well, that would be a massive surprise. So, yeah, just letting you guys know about Mick Schumacher there. So only really 19 cars on circuit for the first part of qualifying, which gets underway shortly. We just switch to these pictures for you guys. Dexter Hall, hey Chazza, what did I miss? Nothing. Qualifying's about to start in a minute, so you've actually joined at a great time. So, yeah, very good timing. You joining there, and yeah, I think, to be honest, I think in a moment we'll probably get things ready. That's one thing I was going to ask actually. Let me know, guys, right now, with a couple minutes to go to qualifying, let me know in the live chat, who do you think will get pole position? Let me know right now. Will it be Hamilton? Will it be Verstappen? Will it be Leclerc? Will it be Sainz? Will it be Bottas, Perez? Let me know right now in the live chat, and I will try to read out as many as I can before the first, meaningful action of the session gets underway. Let me know in the chat, and I'll read it out. And also, don't forget, guys, to subscribe for more content like this. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there, or go to my homepage and do it there and hit the notifications bell. Again, for more content like this, as we will be covering every qualifying session for the remainder of 2021, and also we're doing a race watch along tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. UK time for the most prestigious Grand Prix on the calendar. Again, the Monaco Grand Prix. So don't forget to join us for that. And again, subscribe to the channel as well. Don't forget to smash the like button and share this video and channel everywhere you can, as the session will be underway in a couple minutes time. So let me just read some comments. Here we go. Mike Holmes says Verstappen. Harry Williams says Max. Andrej, I think it is. If I mispronounce that, sorry. Says Max. Yifan says Max. Mike says Hamilton and Verstappen. Or Verstappen. Super Kev says Hamilton and Verstappen then Bottas. Supermax. NSX Dusty says Max. Ryan says Verstappen. Michael Arvin says Verstappen. DJ says Verstappening. Tonka, great to see you, mate, says he thinks Max will take pole. Adam says he thinks it'll be Verstappen, Sainz, Leclerc. Astro Stevo says it'll be Lewis Hamilton. Dexter Hall says Charles Leclerc. Amanda Hume says Charles Leclerc. Caven, I think it is, says Verstappen. Rooksfoot says Verstappen. Bro says Lewis. Michael Arvin has just donated for $4.99, saying 280 watching and only 4 likes. Hit the like. I think, well, there's definitely more likes than that. I can see on the screen we've got 30 likes. So, but yeah, don't forget to keep hitting, like Michael said, the like button. By the way, great to see as well on screen. Fans in attendance. Great to see that. Anyway, let's now get the all of this stuff ready for you guys. The order you see on the left-hand side is not the official order so far. That's the finishing order, of course, from practice 3. And let me just edit a couple things here. So, of course, Q1, if you are new to Formula 1, Q1 is 18 minutes long, and we'll be trying to knock out the 5 slowest out of the field, and then in Q2 the next 5 slowest, and then Q3 of course is the top 10 shootout. Q1 will be underway in just under a minute's time, 50 seconds from now. That's when qualifying will officially begin. As well, let me just quickly do this. Need to add, of course, this dotted line to indicate to you guys where the cutoff zone is. So, let me just put it about there. You guys can see on the screen there, everyone below Fernando Alonso, so below that dotted line, which currently is Mazepin, Russell, Latifi, Tsunoda, Ocon. Anyone below that dotted line at the end of Q1 will be knocked out of the first part of qualifying. Anyway, qualifying underway in 4, 3, 2, 1, and there you go. 18 minutes to go in the first part of qualifying. Just need to update that obviously Mick Schumacher is out of the session, of course. Shame for Mick. It would have been great for him, first qualifying around Monaco. Of course, his dad was very successful here, especially in qualifying at times. So it would have been great, for him to go for it and maybe get a couple positions higher than, he would expect. But, yeah, that's just obviously not going to happen because the mistake he made in practice 3 has meant he will not be coming out. As we have plenty of cars on track. We're currently on the TV broadcast looking at an Alfa Romeo. By the way, it's been notified in the chat, and I have something great to tell you guys. The channel has officially hit, just now, 10,000 subscribers. Guys, thank you so much. Honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I am so thankful and grateful for your support. Currently for this stream and, going into the future, in the past and everything. I'm so, so grateful. So grateful for every subscriber. I'm so, I just cannot thank you guys enough, really, is basically what I'm trying to say, for the support that you guys are giving me, especially, during the darker days. Say this time last year, the darker days of my life and the channel. Again, really appreciate it. I'll never, forget this. I'm really thankful. And just, again, thank you guys so, so much. But now, of course, we'll try and concentrate on building the channel up a bit more. And, increasing the sub number to, whatever it'll go to. But, again, thank you guys so much for 10,000 subs. It means so much to me. So, again, thank you for that. But enough of the emotional stuff. Let's now get into what we actually care about, which is qualifying for the Monaco Grand Prix. And currently on track, we have George Russell. That's what we're looking at on the TV screen. George Russell setting a lap time. He's done a 56.7 so far on the lap. That's what he did in the middle sector. It's not actually as quick, I believe, as the Alfa Romeos who are behind him. He won't get any traffic from any cars ahead as he opens the DRS. And let's see what lap time he does. It's not going to be a quick one, I can guarantee you. That as a Red Bull overtaking there, a couple cars down the pit straight. That looked a bit dangerous, to be honest. As, Russell, I'll update in a moment, up to now third place. It's currently actually Yuki Tsunoda Kimi Räikkönen is now in P1. So Kimi Räikkönen up to P1. Now it's actually Antonio Giovinazzi who goes into first place. Alfa Romeo, like they did in practice 3, showing some very good speed early on compared to their rivals. Fernando Alonso was up in third place. Now he's down to fourth because Lance Stroll, as Lando Norris comes to the line, and Lando Norris goes P1. Let me just update that. I'll try, guys, to update it as quickly as I can, but it is qualifying in Monaco, so it is pretty harem scarum stuff. But at the moment, it's Norris. Now Verstappen goes up into second position in the Red Bull, 3/10 down on Norris. Again, though, these are only the first runs in qualifying, so don't expect that Norris actually has the pace. Sergio Perez is up to 5th, and it's Raikkonen in 6th position. And then Fernando Alonso at the moment is in P7, as Lewis Hamilton's on a lap. He's got traffic ahead of him, though, and it's a Red Bull of, I think, Max Verstappen. Yeah, I think it is, and held him up actually quite a bit there. Won't be a penalty, though. It wasn't that bad, the holding up. As Esteban Ocon, very interestingly, has gone up to 3rd position. So Esteban Ocon up to 3rd. Daniel Ricciardo has just gone up to 4th place. We'll just update that. So Ricciardo 4th, and then Giovinazzi 5th, Stroll 6th, and then Perez, Raikkonen, and then interestingly, and I said this in practice 3 in the stream, Nicholas Latifi so far this weekend, I say that, Russell now goes up to 8th, just ahead, but Latifi has been pretty quick compared to George Russell, so watch out for Nicholas Latifi, as Pierre Gasly now goes up to 2nd position. So Pierre Gasly, who is still driving at a phenomenal level like he was in 2020 and the back end of 2019 as well. He's up to 2nd. Yuki Tsunoda has just gone up to 7th place. As Kimi Raikkonen now goes up to 2nd in the Alfa Romeo. Raikkonen up to 2nd. Giovinazzi goes P1 in the Alfa Romeo. Again, though, we are still not really, I would say, close to the absolute quickest times. Not far away, but we're not absolutely there yet, as Alonso goes 5th. Valtteri Bottas comes to the line, and Valtteri Bottas goes P1 in the Mercedes. So Valtteri Bottas in P1. Lewis Hamilton about to come to the line. Max Verstappen is in a purple middle sector. He's about 0.2 of a second up. Lewis Hamilton goes 3rd. Lance Stroll actually just went up to 2nd position. Lance Stroll up to 2nd. Max Verstappen comes to the line, and Max Verstappen goes P1 by almost 0.3 of a second. As now Carlos Sainz has done a purple sector 1 and sector 2. He will come to the line, and Carlos Sainz goes P1 by just under 0.2 of a second. That is clear evidence there, and I know it's only Q1, but it's clear evidence that Ferrari, they do legitimately have the speed. So Carlos Sainz up to P1, just ahead of Max Verstappen. And then you've got Bottas, Stroll, and now you've got Lando Norris in 5th. I'll just try and update it as quickly as I can. And then Lewis Hamilton in 6th position, as Esteban Ocon just improved his time, but stays down in P12, I think it is. As massive lock up into turn 1, and has someone gone straight on? I don't know. Yep, it was Kimi Raikkonen in the Alfa Romeo. He's fine though. He's just spun his car back around, and Kimi Raikkonen, seen a replay. So he locked up the inside front quite heavily, going into the first corner Saint-Devote. As now Charles Leclerc is on a lap. We'll see what he can do. As completing the top 10 yet, Giovinazzi 7th, then Perez, Ricciardo, Raikkonen, Gasly, and then Alonso up in 12th. Gasly's actually just gone up to 9th position. Charles Leclerc comes to the line with his first lap time of the day, or not the day, but of the session, and goes up to 3rd position. Yuki Tsunoda goes up to 13th. Let me just update that Charles Leclerc is up to 3rd. So Leclerc up into 3rd place. And then let me just make sure I get the rest of the order right. So Yuki Tsunoda just improved his time, went up to 13th, ahead of the 2 Alpines of Alonso and Ocon. So currently in the drop zone, you have Latifi, Russell, and then Mazepin and Sebastian Vettel currently in 19th place. Vettel has set a lap time, but it's more of a warm-up lap. It's not an actual lap time. As Lando Norris did a purple middle sector then, but that's been beaten by Max Verstappen as Lewis Hamilton improves his lap time to go up to 4th position. Lando Norris in the new liveried McLaren will come to the line, and Norris goes P1 by 0.02 of a second. Lando Norris goes P1 in the McLaren, but Max Verstappen goes 0.2 of a second quicker, and Max Verstappen is up into P1. Sergio Perez goes into 6th place. So Perez improving there. Perez about half a second off Verstappen, which is not great, but it's not as bad as it could be. As Carlos Sainz improves his lap time yet again, but is still on a 1 minute 11.3, only 0.003 of a second slower than Lando Norris so far in Q1. As Bottas does a purple middle sector. As one of the AlphaTauris there, I think, being wheeled back into the weighbridge as Valtteri Bottas, purple middle sector. Valtteri Bottas currently sitting in 7th position, and Bottas goes up to P1 with a lap 0.2 quicker than Max Verstappen. So Valtteri Bottas on a 1 minute 10.9, which is a very quick lap time, goes P1 for now. As also Sebastian Vettel is up to 11th position. So let me just update that. So Sebastian Vettel P11 just had a Ricciardo, Raikkonen, Tsunoda, then Alonso. And currently in the drop zone is Ocon, Latifi, Russell and Mazepin. As Gasly will come to the line. And Pierre Gasly goes up to 6th place on another lap. Of course, in Monaco, you're able to go for lap after lap after lap. Just making sure, of course, you do cool down laps and so on and so forth. We've seen this plenty of times in Monaco. As Leclerc rounds the final corner, can Charles Leclerc go P1? No, he cannot, but he does go up to 2nd place. Just ahead by 0.011 of a second ahead of Max Verstappen. But currently it's Bottas, Leclerc, Verstappen, Norris, Sainz, Gasly, Hamilton, Perez, Stroll, Giovinazzi, your top 10. And then just about getting into the next part of qualifying, Vettel, Ricciardo, Raikkonen, Tsunoda, Alonso. And currently in the drop zone, Ocon, Latifi, Russell and Mazepin. And of course, Schumacher is already out because of his crash in practice 3. As Sebastian Vettel goes up to 10th place. Sergio Perez is on another lap, but he's not improving. His first 2 sectors are slower than his personal best, and he's half a second down on Valtteri Bottas so far on this lap. So not going to be an improvement here. And, well, he actually does improve his lap time because of a much better final sector, but he does stay in 8th position. George Russell goes up to 12th with a new lap time, new set of tyres, of course. So Russell up to 12th. That pushes 2 Alpines into the drop zone. As one of the Alpines now, with just over 5 minutes to go, takes to the circuit. And it's Esteban Ocon. He takes to the circuit to try and avert this disaster. If Alpine were to get both cars knocked out in this session, that would be absolutely horrific for the team who were so strong in Portugal and Spain, and even at Imola. They had a top 10 finish there with both cars in the race, one car in qualifying. So that would be a really poor session if they were to finish where they currently are with just 4.5 minutes to go. Currently 16th and 17th. They are still close enough to get out the drop zone, though. Yuki Tsunoda is only a 10th of a second ahead of them. And Raikkonen, I think, is only a 10th or 2 ahead of them. So they're still close enough to get out of danger here. As Valtteri Bottas, Charles Leclerc, this is actually Carlos Sainz, who it looks as though Sainz is on a lap Not seeing any sector times though at the moment. He's not improved his first sector, so maybe this is a warm-up lap. We'll see. As a car jumps the chicane, there's a car ahead of him, an AlphaTauri. Both cars will get out of the way. As on the entry, 2 to back. And yeah, Carlos Sainz has backed off, so he will probably go for another lap in just a moment. And there was a car on the inside there of the exit of the swimming pool section, which, well, if Sainz was on a lap and turned in, he probably would have gone flying off, potentially really highly into the barriers. As Kimi Räikkönen, who's currently down in 14th, is on the soft compound tyre, fresh, of course, fresh compound, and is currently on a better lap. He is just under a second down on Valtteri Bottas so far on this lap. So yeah, this is definitely an improved lap. Should go a couple positions better with this lap. As Kimi Räikkönen now comes into the final corner. And Räikkönen now will come to the line. And Kimi Räikkönen, yeah, does go up a couple positions to P12. As George Russell will come to line. George Russell goes up to 10th position in the Williams. What a performance so far. He's 1 second ahead of his teammate and ahead of the drop zone. Esteban Ocon now goes up to 12th position. So Ocon out of the drop zone for now as Mazepin drifts his car on the exit of the corners because that's how poor the rear end of the Haas F1 car is. Mazepin half a second off getting into the next part of qualifying and nowhere near, I'm afraid. As Daniel Ricciardo on a good lap here, only half a second down on Valtteri Bottas. Alonso also up. Latifi up. As Tsunoda improves his time but is still in 16th position. Ricciardo comes to line and goes up to P9. So Daniel Ricciardo with a good improvement there. As Fernando Alonso stays in 16th place. Must have been a mistake as Nicholas Latifi now goes up to 16th position. So it's Latifi, Alonso, and Tsunoda currently out of, say, the proper midfield teams that are currently in the drop zone. Raikkonen at the moment getting in to the next part of qualifying by about a quarter of a second. As, just seeing here, Lewis Hamilton is on another lap. And Lewis Hamilton is improving on this lap. He's currently down in 7th position. Doesn't really need to go for another lap, to be honest, because he's going to get into the next part of qualifying and he's not really pushing. I don't think. Is Hamilton? No, he's definitely not. He's probably going to come back into the pits. He should, because again, he's going to get through without a doubt. As here is now Sebastian Vettel, who is currently in 12th place. He should be fine, honestly, Vettel, to get through to the next part, but has to make sure of it. As Vettel, 0.7 of a second down on Valtteri Bottas after the first 2 sectors. That's decent. As Vettel, as Raikkonen does a very good middle sector. Raikkonen is on a very good lap. As Sebastian Vettel comes to the line and does not improve his lap time. Here comes Kimi Räikkönen through the final corner. Raikkonen only 0.6 of a second off Valtteri Bottas after the first 2 sectors, and Raikkonen does do a good lap and goes up to P9. So Raikkonen absolutely into the next part of qualifying, something he didn't do in Spain. As now the checkered flag has fallen. Who will get knocked out? Russell stays in 12th place. Latifi, Alonso, Tsunoda, Mazepin need to get out and are in danger. As Giovinazzi now goes up to 9th position. Esteban Ocon goes up to 10th. Mazepin stays in 19th. Yuki Tsunoda is so close. Well, no, Mazepin's still on a lap. Yuki Tsunoda is so close at the moment to getting through. He's so close to getting through. So far on this lap, he's only 0.03 of a second slower than Sebastian Vettel. As Mazepin stays in 19th place, improves to a 1 minute 12.9. Tsunoda goes 16th and he misses out in getting out of the drop zone and he is eliminated. Fernando Alonso also eliminated. A big name out in Q1, Fernando Alonso. Here comes Latifi. Can he relegate Vettel out the drop zone? No, he cannot. He finishes in 18th place as... Let me just update the order for you guys. So Daniel Ricciardo there just went up a position to P11. And there you go. That is the end of qualifying 1. And knocked out in qualifying 1, Yuki Tsunoda, which is not a surprise because he doesn't have any confidence at the minute. Fernando Alonso, that's his worst qualifying result here since 2010. And the only reason in 2010 it was worse is because he couldn't compete in qualifying because he broke the chassis of the Ferrari he was driving at the time in practice 3. In terms of him actually doing qualifying, that's probably his worst qualifying here since his Minardi days in 2001, which were 20 years ago. So Fernando Alonso out in 17th and out really of any chances for a points finish. Latifi out in 18th, disappointing for him. Mazepin 19th and Mick Schumacher in 20th position. So there you go, guys. That is Q1 over and done with. And now we prepare for qualifying 2, which of course is 15 minutes long and will be underway in probably 2 or 3 minutes time. And let me just add another dotted line for the second cutoff zone. There you go. And let me just apply it. So, again, if you are new to Formula 1, if you see between Ocon and Ricciardo, you see that dotted line. So anyone in between the 2 dotted lines, which currently is Ricciardo, Raikkonen, Stroll, Russell, Vettel, because that's where they finished, of course, in Q1. If they finish there in Q2, they will be knocked out and finish up in those positions, and then we'll have the top 10 shootout. So there you go. Gotta say, Fernando Alonso, I mean, I knew qualifying wasn't really that strong of a thing for him. Even in his days at Ferrari, he wasn't great at qualifying, I would say. He was definitely, his greatness would shine when it came to the Grand Prix on the Sunday, and it still does. But his speed over a single lap this season has been so poor. Bahrain, it was good, but Imola, he was miles off. Portugal, he was miles off. Spain, he was miles off. This weekend, miles off. His race pace is good. He just needs to get the qualifying pace sorted, kind of like Kimi Raikkonen. But Alonso's qualifying pace is much worse than Kimi Raikkonen's right now. And Alonso's got to just get some confidence going over a single lap because he's given himself too much work to do for race day. And essentially, what he is at the moment is kind of like a Lance Stroll, where his qualifying pace isn't really there. I mean, Lance Stroll's a much better qualifier now than he was, but it's kind of like I said, it's kind of like Lance Stroll, but maybe not now, but maybe say of 2 years ago, where the qualifying pace is not there, but the race pace is and is really good. It's just he starts too far down to, do any damage on race day. So, again, Alonso, very poor qualifying. I can't say it was undeserved, 17th place. He hasn't exactly shown any speed. I will say Esteban Ocon getting into 10th place. That is a very good effort so far. Now, though, is the real challenge. Can he get into the top 10 for Q3? If he did, great drive, because the Alpine has not been a good car this weekend. Yeah, we'll see what Ocon can do. Got to say, though, as well, Lando Norris, so far this session, and even in practice 3, his pace over a single lap, if he could just get it right when it came to the final lap in qualifying, then this season he would have absolutely destroyed Ricciardo completely. So far in qualifying, Lando Norris has been really good. Up in 4th place, as you can see. Stunning speed. Really stunning speed. And can he maintain that going into... And, of course, here he is, the man on screen. Can he maintain that in qualifying 2 and 3? I think he will get into Q3, but can he maintain that to get right in the action there? Because if he was to qualify, say, 4th, then, that would be a stunning, stunning result for the McLaren team, considering how they look pace-wise. Tonka in the chat saying Vettel and Alonso's cracks are showing. Well, they're definitely not as good as they were, are they? This is not exactly 2013 anymore. It still is a surprise. I mean, that they're not quite, at it. But I think what it is, honestly, as the session will be getting underway, by the way, in just a moment. I think what it is the quality of drivers on the grid at the moment is so high that even if you drop from, say, being at the front winning races and, being a front running team, once you go down to a lower team with, say, a driver who is maybe not had as many good results in the last year or so, mainly because of the car, but because of the quality of the drivers in the midfield, I think they're finding, say, Vettel and Alonso, that really, I mean, yeah, of course, your Hamiltons, your Verstappens, your Leclercs are very great drivers and, deserve to be fighting at the front of Grand Prix. But I think they're finding that really the entire grid, maybe except for 1 or 2, is full of just star talent. And I think, if this was 5-6 years ago, I don't think they'd be struggling as much because the quality of drivers in the midfield was nowhere near as good as it is now. As the session, Q2 has got underway. I'll sync up the timer in 10 seconds. As we're currently on the TV broadcast looking at Charles Leclerc, the home driver, of course, the Monegasque, going for pole at his home track. What a scene that would be if Charles Leclerc could get the home pole position. As he is just coming through to back now. And now into the swimming pool chicane. We'll see what Leclerc can do. Hopefully we'll just go for it straight away. He might, though, want to do a warm-up lap first, which has been quite commonplace, let's just say, so far in this session as Pierre Gasly. And yep, Charles Leclerc is going to do a warm-up lap as he's warming his tyres up on the pit straight. Pierre Gasly has also started a lap. So once the times start getting set by the drivers, then I'll make sure to update the running order as usual. As, yeah, just currently watching Charles Leclerc. I think we've got all the cars on circuit at the minute. Yeah, we have. As Leclerc on this warm-up lap just heading into Mirabeau. And also Pierre Gasly doing a warm-up lap as well. So basically the tyres are just taking a bit longer to warm up, which is around Monaco. It's not really a surprise. So yeah. So we'll see, hopefully, the first lap times in just a moment. Let me just quickly read the chat. Someone's saying, I can't pronounce your name because I'll get it wrong. He says, Daniel Ricciardo has definitely improved over the races. I bet he's frustrated. I think, well, considering it's a new team, and if you look at Daniel Ricciardo, except really for 2014, he doesn't tend to have a good first year with any new team he had. I mean, Toro Rosso in 2012, he had a decent first season, but it wasn't maybe as good as, say, Jean-Eric Verne. And then obviously in the second season was, absolutely stunning and all of that. With Renault, for example, his first season, I mean, he was better than Hülkenberg, but there were plenty of races where Hülkenberg was just as good, if not better. And then, of course, in 2020, his second season, Ricciardo was clearly the best driver in the team ahead of Ocon and was one of the stars of the season. So, yeah, I think, and I'll start updating the order in just a moment as we're getting some lap times now. Stroll currently P1 from Raikkonen, then Ocon, Giovinazzi, Norris. I think, yeah, as long as Ricciardo just doesn't have any, confidence zapping problems, I think Ricciardo will be fine. I think definitely next season, if McLaren have a good car, I think McLaren will be right up there with him, winning, or not winning races, but, right up there challenging as, let me just update some of the order now. So you got Sebastian Vettel anymore. Max Verstappen currently in P1 by half a second from Sergio Perez. Charles Leclerc, though, goes quickest by by 3 thousandths of a second. 3 thousandths of a second, if my throat will allow me. Now Carlos Sainz goes P1 by 2 tenths of a second. So Carlos Sainz on to P1. Not, of course, provisional pole, because we're not to Q3 yet. But it is Sainz, Leclerc, and then Max Verstappen in third. Lewis Hamilton goes up to 4th place. Of course, we're on the soft tyres. They can't afford to take risks getting through on the mediums. So it is Hamilton in 4th place. Bottas is in 5th. And then Sergio Perez is 6th. So you can clearly see the top 3 teams at the minute. Not in that order necessarily. I mean, we'll see when we get to Q3. But Ferrari, Mercedes, and Red Bull, definitely the 3 quickest teams this weekend. And then you got Sebastian Vettel up in 7th place. Lance Stroll is in 8th. Kimi Räikkönen at the moment is in 9th position. Pierre Gasly is in 10th. And then you've got Esteban Ocon in 12th. Antonio Giovinazzi. Ocon 11th, sorry. And then Giovinazzi 12th. Norris 13th. And then it is Russell in 14th. The only driver not to set a representative time probably is, well, I'd say Norris and probably Ricciardo. As Norris has done a purple first sector. And he's only 3/4 of a tenth behind Carlos Sainz. If he keeps this up, he'll go up to 2nd or 3rd place with this lap with Lando Norris. As Norris, bit of a correction there in the mid part of Rascasse. That would have cost him a tenth or so. As he comes to the line, Norris and goes up to 2nd place. What a lap by Lando Norris. Only 1/4 of a second off of P1. So Lando Norris up into 2nd. As Max Verstappen's done a purple first sector and is on a better lap. As Antonio Giovinazzi has just gone up to 9th position. Esteban Ocon goes up to 11th, ahead of Räikkönen and Gasly, as Russell is in 14th. Ricciardo is currently on a lap. Max Verstappen, as I said, has done 2 purple sectors, as Vettel improves his time yet again and goes up past Sergio Perez, interestingly, as Verstappen comes to the line and goes P1 by 1/10 and a half ahead of Carlos Sainz. Sergio Perez goes back up to 7th place. Valtteri Bottas, so far on this lap, looks as though he's going to go 4th or 5th with this lap, as Bottas slides through the exit of Rascasse as Leclerc goes back up to 3rd. Valtteri Bottas comes to the line, only goes 5th. Mercedes just don't seem to have the pace. As they're just showing on the screen, the lap record is a 1 minute 10.1 from Lewis Hamilton in 2019. We're currently only half a second away from that. But currently, with 7.5 minutes to go, it is Verstappen, Sainz, Leclerc, Norris, Bottas, Hamilton, Perez, Vettel, and now it is Gasly in 9th, Ricciardo in 10th. So Gasly 9th, Ricciardo 10th. So in the drop zone, desperately needing to get out with 7 minutes to go, is Giovinazzi, Stroll, Ocon, Räikkönen, and Russell. I'd say probably, I don't think Russell can get through, but I think definitely Giovinazzi, Stroll, Ocon, and Räikkönen, because of the track evolution and all of that, I think do have a chance. So there you go. Just under 7 minutes to go now. Max Verstappen just about ahead of the 2 Ferraris. Lando Norris in there being a bit of a joker, with Bottas and Hamilton struggling compared to the front runners in their Mercedes. Also Sergio Perez not quite at it so far. Sebastian Vettel, I have to say though, what a lap by him. Only 0.6 of a second off of Max Verstappen and up in 8th place. That is a stunning effort so far in the Aston Martin. As now we've got another car on track, and it is Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri. So they've sent him out early to, of course, do a warm-up lap. Well, probably 2 warm-up laps. The out lap, then a warm-up lap, and then maybe 2 or 3 laps after that. So that's why they're sending him out now, so he can get his tyres fired up and in great condition for a proper special Monaco lap. As the next car on circuit, it looks as though it's going to be the Williams of George Russell, who, luckily for him, because Williams are last in the pit lane, he can literally just pull straight onto the circuit. And yeah, only cars on track, Gasly and Russell. I've got to say, Giovinazzi so far, P11. That's a good effort so far from the Italian in the Alfa Romeo. And because of how important qualifying is here, as Stroll, just showing a replay there, Stroll hitting the barrier. What corner is that? He says, I hit the wall, but I'm still going. Nice attitude there from Stroll. It's the corner after the hairpin. Can't remember the name of the corner, though. As he comes out of the pits. Hopefully his car is fine. But yeah, Giovinazzi's doing well. And around a track where qualifying is so important, because of his great strength of single lap speed, it might be rewarded today. And his race pace, I have to say, Giovinazzi is improving. It's not quite there with Kimi Räikkönen, but it's improving. He's not miles off like he was in 2019. So, yeah, hopefully for him, he can be rewarded with a good starting position for this grand old race. As, yeah, we've got most cars on track. Daniel Ricciardo still in the pits at the minute, which is interesting. They should really get him out onto the circuit. Don't want to give him too little time to get the tyres fired up. But yeah, everyone really on circuit and just really waiting for them to have finished their warm-up lap once they've fired their tyres up, so we can see the proper lap times being set. As Esteban Ocon looks as though he's going to go for a lap here. As we cut away to Pierre Gasly, who is now going to start a lap. And we'll see what he can do. Gasly currently in 9th place. You'd imagine he could probably get ahead of Sebastian Vettel there. Doesn't look as though he can get near Norris, who's very quick, and the McLaren is quicker this weekend. But Gasly, once again, leading this team forward when no one else can. As he now comes into Mirabeau, and he's 0.4 of a second already down on Max Verstappen. I don't think that's a poor first sector. I think that just shows you how quick the Red Bull is in the first sector, which really should be its strongest sector because of how quick and high speed it is. As Pierre Gasly through the tunnel, through the kink in the tunnel, now into the daylight, and so far on this lap, can't see any issues so far. The car looks very comfortable, and as he now comes into the back, and he is only 4.5 of a second off Verstappen. So this is going to be a good lap. This will probably get him up a position, maybe 2, if he just keeps it together. As Esteban Ocon goes up to P11. Still not good enough with 2.5 minutes to go. Pierre Gasly comes to the line, and no, final sector was not good enough. He does improve his time, but not his position. He's only 1,000th of a second slower than Sebastian Vettel, who is currently in 8th position. We're currently looking at Sergio Perez now on the TV broadcast, who is warming up for a lap, as Lance Stroll goes up to P11. Valtteri Bottas goes up to 4th place ahead of Lando Norris on a 1 minute 10.9. By the way, the top 7 so far only covered by half a second. That's just how close it is in Formula 1 currently around this short lap here in Monaco as Perez continues to warm up his tyres. As you may think that, as we cut away, I was going to say, if you're watching that then with Perez, you may think he was on a lap, but he was nowhere near the exit barrier of turn 1. You need to be basically scraping it to be on a proper lap. As now Lewis Hamilton is on another lap, currently down in 6th place. What does Hamilton have? Oh, what right now it's not good enough to go P1 in Q2. He's about 0.3 of a second down on Verstappen after the first 2 sectors. As Hamilton now comes into the final corner, the Mercedes car looks fine, just doesn't look as good so far as the Red Bull and the Ferraris. Hamilton improves his lap time but stays in 6th position. The Mercedes pace is not there. As now we're seeing Lando Norris getting so close to the barrier on the exit of the swimming pool, where Latifi crashed earlier in practice 3, and now he rounds the final corner. He's not improved on this lap in any of the sectors. Does improve his final sector, but it's not enough to go any quicker. He did a lap time that was about a 10th of a second slower than his personal best, as Charles Leclerc has done a purple middle sector. Let's see what Leclerc will do as he rounds the final corner. The DRS opens and Charles Leclerc comes to the line and goes P1 by half a 10th of a second as Q2 is about to end. Giovinazzi currently doing enough to get into the next part of qualifying. Can Kimi Raikkonen get into the next part of qualifying as Russell goes up to 13th? Kimi Raikkonen! No, he does not. Raikkonen is out of the session. Raikkonen in P11. Giovinazzi does go up to, for the moment, 10th position. Daniel Ricciardo stays 11th. So Ricciardo is out. What an awful result for him. Ocon now goes 11th. So Ricciardo now down into P12. Pierre Gasly goes up to 7th. You've got Lance Stroll 14th. Can Lance Stroll get through? Well, he's still on a lap, as Verstappen is still on a lap as well. As Gasly, I've just seen, has gone up to 7th position. And Stroll goes up to 13th, putting Kimi Raikkonen a position down. As Valtteri Bottas has just gone up to 3rd place. Sergio Perez goes up to 5th. Sergio Perez up to 5th. And Sebastian Vettel stays in 9th place. Great job by Sebastian Vettel. That's exactly what he needed. Getting into the top 10 in qualifying, that is a great result. Also, great result for Antonio Giovinazzi. Getting his first top 10 start in a long time. Probably since the 2019 Italian Grand Prix, I think it might be. Almost 2 years. So great result for Giovinazzi. Great result for Sebastian Vettel. His second Q3 appearance in the last 3 Grand Prix. And yeah, he will join the top 10 shootout. So getting knocked out at the end of Q2, Esteban Ocon in P11, Daniel Ricciardo 12th. What a shock that is, and what a poor result that is for Daniel Ricciardo. 13th, Lance Stroll. 14th, Kimi Raikkonen. And 15th is George Russell. So there you go, and you can see the man on screen, Sebastian Vettel, proving us wrong, doing it again, getting right up there in the Aston Martin, and someone, is it Stepbro, saying in the chat, well done Vettel, absolutely well done to him, a great job by him. Anyway, it is now time to prepare ourselves though for your main event, the fight for pole position between the Mercedes drivers, the Red Bull drivers, and the Ferrari drivers, and possibly even Lando Norris as well. Get some popcorn, get ready guys, because this is going to be something special. This is going to be probably the most exciting qualifying we've had in Monaco, probably since 2012, where Michael Schumacher, of course, got pole that day, but had a 5-place penalty and went back to 6th. So I think we are in for a very exciting session. And like that session back then in 2012, I think, and I remember watching that session back then, there were so many cars that could have got pole. I think this is kind of the same. There is a lot of cars in there, in that top 10, that could get pole. So, yeah, hang on to your seats, guys. This is going to be a really good one. And Charles Leclerc goes into it having topped Q2. If he gets pole, then what scenes that will be. Let me just move on to some different pictures there. Just to let you guys know again, I will be live later today for the race preview for tomorrow's Grand Prix, of course, at 6 PM UK time tonight. So don't forget to come along to that. And as well, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notifications bell. You can bottom right of the screen, you can subscribe right there. Or go to my channel page and do it there. For the race watch along tomorrow at 1:30 PM UK time, where me and Nib will take you through the Monaco Grand Prix, and what a Grand Prix it's going to be. So again, don't forget to subscribe for that content. And as well, don't forget as well to smash that like button and share the video and channel everywhere you can. As Q3 will be underway shortly, probably in a minute or 2 minutes time. So regarding well done to Vettel indeed in the live chat room. Peter King says Hamilton will do a 1 minute 09.999 for Q3. Go Charles says Christopher Andrean, I think it is, and says he thinks it'll be a Ferrari 1-2. That's one thing I need to ask you guys quickly before we get the first runs of Q3 in. Who do you think will get pole position? Let me know in the chat. Is it still for you going to be Max Verstappen? Are you going for Hamilton? Are you going for Leclerc, Sainz? Let me know right now in the chat, and I'll try and read out as many as I can before the final, before the first runs in the final part of qualifying. As they're just showing on the broadcast that on the Sky F1 broadcast, a comparison of Verstappen and Hamilton's laps, and that Max Verstappen is getting a lot closer to the barriers than Lewis Hamilton is. Maybe Hamilton is saving something for the final part of this session. So let's read out some predictions from you guys. Chief the Beef says Verstappen. MC says Lando. Bastian Sir says Norris. Ricky says Leclerc. Rick says Verstappen. TJ says Maximum, so we know who he means by that. Verstappen. Jacob says Leclerc. Norris, another one for Norris. Tonka says he thinks it'll be Max, Leclerc, Bottas. EC says Mad Max. I don't think it will happen, but Leclerc, Verstappen, Bottas says, I think Eagle, I think it is. Andre Alexander, very nice name. There's Valtteri Bottas. Dylan Forrestal says Sainz. Jacob, I think I already read that one out, says Leclerc. Ross A. Ranch says Verstappen, Leclerc, Hamilton. Aleph says Leclerc, Verstappen, Sainz. Edwin says Lewis. Love says Verstappen or Leclerc. Rurat says Leclerc. Amanda says Max, Leclerc, Norris. Michael says Leclerc. So it looks as though you guys are going for Max or Charles Leclerc, which I think I even saw a comment in the chat saying from someone that they're a Lewis Hamilton fan, but they just don't think that Hamilton will get pole. At the minute, you'd have to say yes. I don't think the car is there, but I don't want to sit here and say, yeah, Lewis Hamilton's not going to do it, because how many times has he done this to us where he's looked off the pace and then when Q3 comes around, bangs in a couple amazing laps and gets pole? So I am not going to sit here and pretend that Lewis Hamilton doesn't have a chance, because it's Lewis Hamilton. We're talking about, well, of course, it's up for debate. For me, it's not. We're talking about, for me, the greatest driver in Formula One history. So you cannot just count him out because the car is maybe slightly too slow, because we've seen Lewis Hamilton put in some stonking laps in the past and get pole. Of course, I remember Singapore 2018, where it looked as though he didn't have the cuff pole position and then produced probably the best lap of his entire career. And the session has, Q3 is now underway. We're now getting the cars on track. I'll sync up the timer for you guys in about 45 seconds time. So, of course, Q3 is 12 minutes long, and we should get probably, I don't know how many runs we'll get in this session. Maybe 3, probably. 3 at most. Normally in qualifying, of course, it's 1, and then they come back in and then do 1 more at the end. I don't think it'll be quite that. I think maybe they'll do 3 or 4 lap times in general. We'll see. Hopefully, as many as possible. That'd be great. But yeah, Leclerc, Verstappen, Bottas, Sainz, Perez, Norris, Hamilton, Gasly, Vettel, and Giovinazzi, just to remind you, are the drivers that are contesting over the positions for the top 10. as I'll sync up the timer in 3, 2, 1. There you go. 11 minutes to go in this session and in qualifying. So let's see, around a real driver's circuit, the circuit that all drivers want to get pole and win that, because it's, you know, it's such a proving ground for great drivers. Let's see, out of some of the best drivers in the world, let's see who has it around the streets of Monte Carlo as Max Verstappen starts his first attempt at pole position and his first attempt at his first ever pole position in Monaco. Can he do it? Let's see as Max Verstappen comes up Casino Square. Car sparking away as he throws the car in. That Red Bull looks so great in the hands of Max Verstappen, moving all over the place as he comes down to Mirabeau. And car looks fine so far for grip. Now through the hairpin, no problems whatsoever. And car is moving about, but it's moving about not because it's not got enough grip, it's because Verstappen is giving it absolutely everything, not leaving an inch to be spared around this wonderful racetrack as Verstappen loses the rear end slightly on the exit of the Nouvelle chicane. Now throws it into the back, almost gets on the barrier on the outside. Now throws it into the second part of the swimming pool. Now into Rascasse. Will he have the grip in these final two corners? Looks as though he does. And now comes into the final corner. Now onto the pit straight as Pierre Gasly goes P1. Verstappen will go P1 on a 1 minute 10.5. So Verstappen at the moment in position 1 as Valtteri Bottas goes up to second. And Pierre Gasly at the moment in third place. I say that. And Antonio Giovinazzi now goes up to third position. And we're just waiting, I think, on the other cars. Leclerc, Sainz, Perez, Norris, Hamilton, Vettel to set their times as we're currently looking at the wrong man on the TV broadcast. We're looking at Valtteri Bottas when we should be looking at the others. As Bottas is not on the lap, as Leclerc has done his warm-up lap. And now the home driver tries for pole position as Carlos Sainz also completes his warm-up lap. As Leclerc through Casino Square he comes. Car does not look really as good as the Red Bull did, but his first sector is still decent. He's a 10.5 off Verstappen in the first sector as the inside wheel always locks up into the station hairpin as Sainz has actually done a purple first sector in the Ferrari. By the way, Valtteri Bottas currently in second place, only half a tenth behind Verstappen. So Verstappen, I think, could probably go quicker on that lap. As Charles Leclerc now exits the chicane, now into the back. And Charles Leclerc 2 tenths up on Max Verstappen after the first two sectors. He's doing absolutely everything he can. As Sainz also 3 tenths up now, Sainz on Verstappen so far on this lap as Charles Leclerc rounds the final corner, opens DRS. Charles Leclerc comes to the line, and it is so far P1 by 2 tenths of a second. Carlos Sainz will come to the line. Can he get P1? No, he cannot. He made a mistake in the final sector, I'm sure of it, as he goes third. Hamilton only 5th. Hamilton only 5th behind Valtteri Bottas. Is currently Leclerc, Verstappen, and then Carlos Sainz in third, Bottas 4th, and then Lewis Hamilton in 5th place. Sebastian Vettel currently up in 6th position in the Aston Martin. What a result that would be as Valtteri Bottas is on another lap. Pierre Gasly goes up to P5 now in the Alpha Tauri as Valtteri Bottas rounds the final corner. What can Bottas do? He goes up ahead of Carlos Sainz for third place. So Bottas up to third. What a performance by Valtteri Bottas. He is really outperforming Lewis Hamilton massively here in Monaco. But currently the top 10 with 6.5 minutes to go is Leclerc on provisional pole position by a quarter of a second from Max Verstappen. with Bottas third, Sainz fourth, Gasly fifth, Hamilton sixth, and Vettel, Perez, Giovinazzi, and Norris. As Norris is 0.4 of a second down on Leclerc after the first two sectors. This might be good enough, though, still for 5th or 6th on the grid. As he comes through Anthony Nogues, opens the DRS, and Lando Norris runs to the line. And it is P5 for Lando Norris. That's a very good lap. So at the moment, Lewis Hamilton is 0.75 of a second down. 0.75 of a second down on Charles Leclerc, who is currently on provisional pole position. You know what? I'm going to say it. I don't believe Lewis Hamilton can get pole here. He's too far back, and the Mercedes car, to me, doesn't look as good as the Ferrari around this circuit, which, of course, is a massive surprise. But at the moment, it is Charles Leclerc on pole. And we have 5 minutes to go as now Max Verstappen comes back out for his final attempt here in Q3. Like I said, I mean, with Hamilton down in 7th place, if he was to qualify second, that would still be a good result for the championship. But if Hamilton is to have a poor qualifying, Verstappen has to capitalise as much as he can and get the race victory. It is a very important pole position for him. Also very important for Carlos Sainz, who definitely has the speed to get pole position here and wants desperately to outqualify his teammate at Leclerc's home circuit. But at the minute, with 4.5 minutes to go, it is Charles Leclerc who is the man to beat, as they're all basically back out on circuit except for Valtteri Bottas and Sebastian Vettel and Sergio Perez. But it's Charles Leclerc who is the man to beat, as they're showing currently on the TV broadcast. Lando Norris is on another lap, I believe. Leclerc's last pole was the 2019 Mexican Grand Prix, which was Halloween 2019. It's been a year and a half since he was on pole. Can he do it here in Monte Carlo, as Max Verstappen is on his outlap? Will he now decide to go for a warm-up lap, or will he just go for the real thing? Let's see. He exits the final corner, and I think he's going to go for the real thing as he opens the DRS. And let's see what Max Verstappen can do. Into turn one, and Verstappen, skittish and getting the rear bit out of sorts there on the exit of turn one. He's giving it so much that he's almost overdriving the race car at the minute, as Verstappen now down to mirror boat and the first sector time being. Don't know what his first sector time is. It's not showing at the minute on the TV broadcast, as Lando Norris does improve lap time, but remains in 5th. But he's only a 10th, or not even that, he's half a 10th off getting onto the front row of the grid, is Lando Norris. So watch out for Norris. He might still end up with a great position here, as Max Verstappen now comes down to the Nouvelle chicane. Still not seeing any sector times. Verstappen exits the chicane much better than he did the time before, as Verstappen still not seeing any sector times on the TV broadcast. I'm going to assume, I hope, that he's not setting a quick lap. And I know he has now backed off. So that was a warm-up lap then for Max Verstappen. So now, 2.5 minutes to go. And now he's backed off still. So he's going to do another warm-up lap. So Verstappen clearly feeling the need to wait to release all of that speed that he has, as Verstappen will wait to show his real hand. So with 2 minutes to go, we now look to the others to see what they're doing. Can't see, though, any lap times being improved right now. The only driver on an outlap is Sebastian Vettel, as Lando Norris has come back into the pit. So I think that's Norris done and dusted for this session. Here we go. Sergio Perez, personal best first sector, currently down in 9th place. 0.6 of a second down on Leclerc after the first two sectors. And I think he did clip the barrier on the exit. And now has got a mountain of traffic ahead of him. And Sergio Perez, a terrible lap. And this is not really going to improve his lap time. No, he does improve his lap time, but it's still 9th position for the Red Bull driver. Here is now Lewis Hamilton, who's done a personal best first sector. With a minute to go, what does Lewis Hamilton have? He has to get somewhere near Max Verstappen. He cannot afford to qualify in 7th place. That would be a horrific qualifying session for the 7 times world champion as he heads down to the Nouvelle Chicane. And car looks okay. I think the most worrying thing about this Mercedes is there's no obvious weaknesses that I can see, and it's still too slow, as he's 3.5 tenths off Leclerc through the first 2 sectors, and he's backed off. He's going to go for it again. No way he's going to come back into the pits. And no, and Charles Leclerc has crashed on the exit of the swimming pool chicane, and that he's guaranteed himself pole position with it. So Charles Leclerc, red flag is out, session is over, no one's going to get back out to do a lap. Charles Leclerc is on pole position for the Monaco Grand Prix. Max Verstappen is 2nd, Valtteri Bottas is 3rd, Carlos Sainz 4th, Norris 5th, Gasly 6th, Hamilton 7th. Hamilton 7th, yes, you heard that right. Vettel 8th, Perez 9th, and Giovinazzi in 10th, but Charles Leclerc has binned it on the exit of the swimming pool. His car surely will be fine for the Grand Prix, but it will be him on pole position. What an anticlimactic finish to the session. Another one we've had in 2021. And Charles Leclerc is on pole for the first time since the 2019 Mexican Grand Prix, and his first pole position in Monaco, and definitely the clear favourite to win the Monaco Grand Prix. So, wow. Who thought that would happen? That was a very surprising end. Let's see a replay. It comes through the chicane, and yep, he breaks the track rod on the right front and goes into the barrier. Oh, I just thinking in my brain, there's going to be I don't want to accuse him of anything, but there's going to be accusations that he did that on purpose, which I think surely he wouldn't do that. I don't think he would. If he has, though, of course, that would be a massive penalty, but there's definitely going to be accusations of that because it is extremely convenient that whilst on provisional pole position, Charles Leclerc then goes into the barriers and causes a red flag that causes him to be on pole position for tomorrow's Monaco Grand Prix. But there you go. Max Verstappen in 2nd place. Valtteri Bottas 3rd. Carlos Sainz 4th. Norris 5th. Gasly 6th. Hamilton 7th. Vettel 8th. Perez 9th. Giovinazzi 10th. And then Ocon, Ricciardo, Stroll, Raikkonen and Russell, of course, knocked out in Q2. And then knocked out in Q1, of course, earlier. Tsunoda, Alonso, Latifi, Mazepin and Schumacher. But it is Charles Leclerc on pole, the first Ferrari pole position in a year and a half. And tomorrow could be the first Ferrari race win in almost 2 full years. We'll see what happens tomorrow. But let's see. Let's see what you guys have to say in the chat about what just happened there. Ferrari just as planned, did a Schumi. Daniel Edwards asks, start from the pit lane, won't he? Well, that'll only be if his car is too badly damaged. They have to what do you call it? Break the parc fermé to replace or repair something. If that has to happen, then yeah, he'll start from the pit lane. But as long as they fix his car and it's fine, then Charles Leclerc will start on pole position tomorrow. If he does start from the pit lane, then of course it'll be Verstappen on pole. From Bottas second, and Sainz and Norris, and so on and so forth. But I think he'll most likely be fine because Nicholas Latifi earlier had the same crash and he was able to compete in qualifying 2 hours later. So I think he'll be fine. But again, it's Leclerc who's laughing at the end of it. Andrew Wilson says, good strategy. Ferrari, master plan. The Rosberg maneuver, I've seen Rooksfoot say there. Let me find some other comments here. Love says, this was intentional. It's one. Again, I'm not going to accuse him of that because the replay I've seen, because it's been done so many times, that particular accident, you know, turning in too early, hitting the barriers and then crashing on the exit of the swimming pool, because it's been done so many times, I can't sit here and say, well, you know, that just looks wrong. It's convenient. It's very convenient. But I don't think he's done it on purpose. I don't think that at all. Of course, there will be accusations of that. But until he's proven guilty, then for me, he's innocent. Charles doesn't look like the kind of person that would do that. Looks can deceive with certain people. But I don't think it's the type of... I don't think he would do that, to be honest. And again, because of the nature of the crash that I saw, I don't think he did that on purpose. Because at least with like the Rosberg moment in 2014 and the Schumacher one in 2006, they were very unusual in how they happened. And they weren't like... It wasn't like those incidents that happened were commonplace for cars at those corners. What Charles Leclerc did is what so many drivers before him have done in the last 5 years since they remodeled that chicane. So, you know what I mean? If he has done it on purpose, it'll be extremely hard to tell, put it that way. But I don't think he did at all. Let me read some final comments here. Magic Ayrton Forever says, nice commentary, thank you, no problem. Rowan says Hamilton didn't threaten pole the whole session. Yeah, that could be championship real. That could really change the championship massively. It really could. Verstappen second, Hamilton seventh. I mean, if it finished like that in the race, Verstappen would only be 2 points behind Hamilton going into the next race in Baku. If Verstappen was to win, though, and Hamilton finished down there, then Verstappen would take the championship lead. And that's why I said Verstappen's got to win this weekend, because he's got to reverse the momentum of Hamilton that Hamilton's built up. He can still do it tomorrow. I mean, 12 points took away from Hamilton would still be pretty good. But again, we'll see what happens tomorrow. Of course, the Monaco Grand Prix, very long, hard, strenuous race, as we've seen in the past. Let me read one final comment from Stephen Mooney, who says, I don't see it being intentional. You risk having the setup of your car going wrong, reconstructing the damage. Exactly. With the Schumacher and Rosberg incidents, they didn't crash, did they? They just conveniently went off and kind of parked in a way. Leclerc had a full-blown accident, so... And there's no reason why you would do that, because, you know, in Formula 1, if you deliberately crash like that, it's highly... I mean, maybe not highly likely, but it is likely that you could actually cause physical damage to yourself. So, I don't think he did that at all. Anyway, enough of the controversy. It is Charles Leclerc on pole position. Guys, thank you so much for joining me for this qualifying watch-along. And again... Don't forget to join me later for the race preview at 6 PM UK time, so in 3 hours from now. And again, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this and hit the notifications bell. Subscribe at the bottom right of the screen, or go to my channel page and do it there. And hit the notifications bell also when you're there. Don't forget to smash the like button. And don't forget as well to share this video and channel everywhere you can as well. Don't forget, remember... to be around tomorrow at 1:30 PM UK time for the race watch-along for the Monaco Grand Prix of 2021. Don't forget to be there. But what is going to be, I mean, it might not be a thrilling race, but it's going to be a race of interest, because definitely the field is very, very close here in Monte Carlo. So don't forget again to subscribe and hit the notifications bell for that. Again, thank you guys so much for 10,000 subs, and hopefully we can keep on building the channel. And yeah, as well, don't forget to join the Discord server, link below in the description. Great place for notifications for my videos and streams. And also, we have almost 500 people on that server, and it's pretty active for chat and debate about not just F1, but motorsport in general. So if you want to join that, then make sure to do so. But guys, until my race preview and until tomorrow's race watch along for the Monaco Grand Prix of 2021, it has been me, Shazza HD. Goodbye.